Daniel Yankelovich's work forever changed the way that public opinion research is conducted. He believed that people should be heard and that their ideas matter. And that's really why our work at Public Agenda is so important. Inspired by Daniel Yankelovich, we really continue to believe that people deserve to be heard, that people want to be heard, and we will continue to work to ensure that everybody is heard and everybody has a say. And really it's by listening to these voices that we can make sure that democracy is better for everyone.
At the PE team, the public engagement team, we do a lot of work around K-12 education, incorporating student and the voice of administrators, teachers in their work, as well as elevating faculty voice in higher education in the community college context. And through all of those projects, we really do see Dr. Yankelovich's frameworks around coming to public judgment. Folks that have different perspectives, listen to other people around the table with divergent views, and oftentimes, whether it's faculty or students or community members, we really see them being able to see that issues are not just sort of black and white, right or wrong. They really start to come around to public judgment and kind of see the gray areas and the complexity of policy issues and difficult issues that affect their personal lives. And in that, they're more open to talk to each other and kind of come up with solutions, actionable solutions that work for everyone.
It was a very heady period when immigrant kids and children of immigrants, Leonard Bernstein, Teddy White, Dan, all went to Boston Public Latin School. It was a very meaningful experience. There were 4 Harvard College presidents from there, Cotton Mather, and then these boys descended on the scene. And I believe the education there contributed to Dan's belief in education and the importance of the individual in a democracy. And he spent his lifetime, in a sense you could say, trying to make the weak strong.
Dan shaped how he wanted to build a legacy at UC San Diego. I feel the same way. And for a moment in his life and mine, we came together for a common purpose. I'm very grateful for Dan's commitment and vision. I like to think of Dan and his vision as the beating heart for the division, entirely and wholly about doing practical research to promote social mobility at a time when it seems that commitment from our government is waning. Our purpose and the division's purpose is for social good, as Dan has reminded me many times.
I want to talk a little about other sides of his personality. He had a great love of music. When he was young, he played the flute, and he always loved to listen to opera. He also had a wonderful sense of humor. He was conscious of the absurdities of everyday life, including things like he was invited to go on an elk hunt, a very prestigious invitation. And he knew very little about elk and even less about hunting. He was a great raconteur. He entertained many a dinner party with all his stories. He will be missed.
It's a great pleasure to honor Dan Yankelovich here in beautiful Del Mar, California, where Dan lived. I wanted to just tell a brief story of inviting Dan to my 50th birthday party just a couple of years ago. Dan came down from his house and he brought me a gift. He brought me a book. And Dan was a man of great learning. I expected some work of social science or philosophy, 2 of his great passions. In fact, Dan, for my 50th birthday, bought me this. And you can see why. Dedication right here. My birthday coincided with the 50th anniversary of Maurice Sendak's great book, Where the Wild Things Are, and ever the market researcher, this was my favorite book in 1st grade, and I couldn't have imagined a sweeter gift. Thanks, Dan. You'll be missed.
So when Dan passed away, I posted this on Facebook. Dan was a thoughtful advocate for an engaged democracy and a serious social scientist, truly a legend in his own time. I've known Dan since I was just coming up in this space when I was running the National Civic League and he was on the board of the Kettering Foundation. He was always very kind to me and generous with his advice and support. He and his generation of leaders and thinkers will be greatly missed during these difficult times. I wonder what he and John Gardner and Peter Drucker would have come up with to help us respond to this moment. So I posted that, and people responded with their own remembrances and thank you for letting us know. And then I got this response from someone who I don't know and have never met. She says, I met him when we were students at the University of Alabama during World War II. He was an enlisted fellow in the Army, a cute, slightly pudgy guy with a profound knowledge of classical music and played the flute in the band. I was a senior art major and 6 months away from getting married in Memphis, but as we kept meeting on campus, I found myself wondering if I was marrying the wrong man. A few years later, I realized I had. I think I carried a torch for Dan for all these years. We were almost the same age. I am 93, soon to be 94, and for many years had no idea what happened to him, even though I became a journalist. It was only when I saw a story about him in Time magazine did I realize that it was the same person with whom I'd had a short, loving relationship. I always thought he would end up in the Boston Symphony. We both loved music so much and would spend Sunday afternoons at the U of A Student Union building listening to classical concerts. So terribly sorry to learn of his death, particularly since I never had a chance to speak with him and reminisce about those days 73 years ago.
Let me tell you what I remember best about working with Dan. There'd come a point in almost every board meeting where everyone would say their piece, and then someone would say, Dan, what do you think? And he'd pull himself up, and he would tell us what he thought, and the rest of us would look around and we'd say, how did he find a pattern connecting two maybe very disparate things that the rest of us never saw? He was wonderful at making those pattern connections that the rest of us didn't see. And it became really clear to all of us that we were in the presence of one of the great public intellectuals in the history of this country.